Have you ever, like, apologized for your English? You know, when you're talking to someone?
Yeah.
It's so common, right? When it's not your first language.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're going to deep dive into why we should stop saying sorry
Oh, interesting.
and how to speak more confidently. So what do you think? Is there, like, a connection between apologizing and how confident we feel?
I think so, yeah. It's like when we apologize, we kind of put ourselves down a little bit,
Right.
and it can make us seem, I don't know, less sure of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like we're saying our English isn't good enough,
Yeah, exactly.
which can totally undermine our message, you know?
It can. And even native speakers make mistakes.
Oh, all the time.
So it's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about communicating.
So true. And you know what? This actually reminds me of something I read in one of the articles we looked at for this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
It talked about how even, like, super famous people make mistakes when they speak.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I was reading this interview with this huge celebrity.
Okay.
I won't say who, but they completely blanked on a really simple word, like on live TV.
Oh, wow.
And everyone just kind of laughed it off, including the celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And the interview just went on. It was no big deal.
So it shows that, like, everyone makes mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why do we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect when we speak English?
It's a good question. Maybe it's because we're so focused on the grammar and the vocabulary, we forget that the most important thing is actually just getting our message across.
Right. Communicating, connecting.
Yes. And that can be so liberating because it takes the pressure off.
For sure.
You don't have to be perfect to be understood.
Exactly. So what can we do instead of apologizing when we're not sure of something or we make a small mistake?
I think it's about shifting our language.
Yeah.
Instead of saying sorry, try something more positive.
Okay, I like that. So give me some examples.
Like you could say, I'm still learning, but I'm really excited to share this with you.
Oh, I love that.
Or what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, those are great. It shows that you're engaged and you're trying.
Right. It makes you more relatable, I think.
Definitely. And it creates a more open and welcoming atmosphere for communication.
Exactly.
But, okay, there are times when we do need to apologize.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if we offend someone
Of course.
or say something totally inappropriate.
Yeah. In those cases, it's important to acknowledge our mistake and apologize sincerely.
Right. So it's more about being mindful of the context
Exactly.
and choosing our words carefully. So it sounds like the first step is really about shifting our mindset, right?
Hmm.
From focusing on perfection to focusing on connection and communication.
Yes. And that can be a game changer.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we make that shift?
Well, it's funny because when I think about it, if someone was speaking to me in my native language
Right.
and made a little mistake,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, you wouldn't care.
I'd be more focused on what they were trying to say.
Exactly.
So why are we so hard on ourselves when it comes to English?
It's like we have this double standard
We do.
for ourselves.
We do.
So how do we let go of that?
Well, one thing that really helped me was to start thinking about language learning as a journey,
Okay,
not a destination.
I like that.
It's about progress,
Yeah.
not perfection.
So instead of beating ourselves up over every little mistake,
Yeah,
we should be celebrating the small wins,
exactly.
the progress we make.
You got it.
I like that. So, like, what would be a small win?
Well, it could be anything. Like maybe you finally understood a native speaker without having to ask them to repeat themselves.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or maybe you had a short conversation with someone in English and you felt confident and comfortable.
Yeah,
Those are all victories worth celebrating.
they are. Because it's so easy to get caught up in what we still can't do,
Mm-hmm.
that we forget to acknowledge how far we've come. That's a really good point. I need to remember that. Okay, so celebrating small wins is huge.
It is.
But how else can we, like, actively embrace this mindset of progress?
I think another key aspect is recognizing that mistakes are not failures.
Oh,
They are opportunities for growth.
I like that.
Every time we make a mistake, we're actually learning something new.
Yeah.
We're refining our understanding of the language.
It's feedback, right?
Exactly.
It's like, okay, I messed up there,
Yeah.
but now I know how to do it better next time.
Exactly.
So, practically speaking, what are some things we can do to, like, put this into practice?
One technique that I find really helpful is active listening.
Active listening. Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I totally understand it. What does that actually mean?
It's not just about passively hearing words.
So it's more than just, like, watching a movie in English.
Right. It's about truly engaging with the language,
Yeah.
paying attention to how native speakers pronounce words,
Yeah.
the rhythm and intonation they use, how they structure their sentences.
Oh, interesting.
It's about immersing yourself in the nuances of the language.
So it's like really paying attention to the details.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
And the more you do that, the more natural and effortless your own speaking will become.
It's like absorbing the language through osmosis or something.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're being mindful of our language, shifting our mindset. We're actively listening.
Yes.
What else can we do to boost our confidence when speaking English?
Well, one thing that often gets overlooked is the power of positive self-talk.
Ooh, positive self-talk.
Instead of dwelling on our perceived shortcomings, what if we consciously focused on our strengths and the progress we've already made?
It's like giving ourselves a pep talk
Exactly.
before we even open our mouths to speak.
Exactly. Remind yourself that you're capable, you're learning, and every step you take is a step in the right direction.
Love it, because that inner critic can be so loud sometimes.
Oh, it can.
Right, and it can really hold us back.
Absolutely.
So we need to be our own cheerleaders.
Yes.
Okay, and what about finding other people to practice with?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Creating a supportive learning environment is so important.
Like finding your tribe.
Exactly. Surround yourself with people who encourage you, who celebrate your successes, and offer constructive feedback without judgment.
Because, let's be honest, not everyone's going to be supportive.
That's true.
Some people can be really, well, not so nice about it.
Yeah.
So it's about finding those people who get it, who understand the challenges and the joys of language learning.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a supportive environment. We're cheering ourselves on. We're actively listening. And we're embracing those mistakes as opportunities to learn.
Yes,
That's a lot.
it is.
But it's all so important, right?
It is. Because it's about shifting our perspective from fear of failure to curiosity and a desire to learn from our experiences.
And you know what? One thing that really resonated with me from the source material was the idea of embracing mistakes as opportunities for growth
Oh, absolutely.
instead of seeing them as like the end of the world.
Yeah. They're not. They're actually valuable feedback.
Right.
They're signposts pointing us toward areas where we can improve.
It's like reframing those oops moments
Yes.
as stepping stones on the path to fluency.
I love that.
Me too. Okay, so we're embracing mistakes, we're celebrating wins. What about actually putting our English into practice in real-life situations?
Oh, that's essential. Whether it's ordering a coffee, asking for directions, or just striking up a conversation with a stranger.
Right, like everyday stuff.
Yes, those everyday interactions provide invaluable practice and help to build fluency in a natural and organic way.
It's about taking our English skills out of the textbooks and into the real world.
Exactly. And while those real-world interactions can feel intimidating at first,
Oh, for sure.
they're ultimately the key to unlocking true fluency and confidence.
It's like the more we use our English in authentic situations, the less we'll feel the need to apologize for it.
Precisely.
Okay, this has been so helpful.
Yeah.
But before we move on, there's one more thing I want to touch on, and that's the importance of being kind to ourselves.
Oh, that's so important.
Right. Because learning a new language is a journey.
It is.
It's not always easy.
No,
There are going to be ups and downs.
they will be.
So we need to acknowledge our progress, celebrate our successes, and be patient with ourselves along the way.
Absolutely. It's like giving ourselves permission to learn at our own pace,
Yeah.
to make mistakes, and to grow from those experiences without judgment or self-criticism.
I love that.
It's so important.
It is.
And, I think that's a powerful message for all of us, regardless of whether we're learning a new language or just navigating the complexities of life.
That's a great point. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the importance of shifting our mindset, embracing mistakes, and being kind to ourselves. Are you ready to dive into some more specific techniques and strategies for confident English communication?
I am. Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's go. Okay, so we've talked a lot about mindset, but what about actual techniques, like things we can do to feel more confident when we're speaking English?
Yeah, absolutely. One technique I find super helpful is visualization.
Visualization.
Yeah, like before you're going into a situation where you have to speak English.
Okay.
Take a few minutes, close your eyes,
Yeah.
and imagine yourself speaking clearly and confidently.
Oh, that's interesting. So like picturing yourself succeeding.
Exactly. It's like a mental rehearsal.
I like that.
And the more you practice visualizing success, the more confident you'll actually feel when you're in that situation.
That makes sense. It's like you're training your brain to believe that you can do it.
Exactly. And it can be really powerful.
Especially for like those situations that tend to make us nervous, you know?
Yeah. Like giving a presentation
Totally.
or participating in a meeting.
Oh, meetings can be tough.
They can be.
Yeah. Speaking of meetings, is there anything else we can do to feel more prepared?
Yeah. I always recommend preparing in advance.
Okay.
Like if you know you're going to have to talk about a certain topic,
Mm-hmm.
take some time to jot down some key phrases or vocabulary words that might come up.
That's a good tip.
It doesn't have to be anything, super complicated. But
Right.
it's like having a little cheat sheet in your back pocket.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about visualization, preparation, and of course, active listening, positive self-talk. Any other techniques we haven't touched on yet?
Hmm. One that I think is really powerful is storytelling.
Storytelling.
Hmm.
Okay, how does that tie into speaking English confidently?
Well, when you're telling a story, you're naturally more engaged,
Mm-hmm.
more expressive.
Yeah.
You're focused on conveying your message, not on, like, getting the grammar perfect.
That's true.
It's like you get caught up in the moment
Yeah.
and the words just flow.
I feel like that happens to me when I'm telling stories in English.
Exactly.
I'm not so worried about making mistakes.
Right.
It's more about sharing the experience.
Exactly. And that's what makes storytelling so powerful.
Right.
It allows you to connect with others on a deeper level.
So are you saying we should try to incorporate more storytelling into our everyday conversations?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything, long or complicated.
Right.
Just sharing a quick anecdote about your day or
Okay.
a funny observation you made could make a big difference.
Yeah, I like that. It's about finding ways to, like, inject our personality into our English.
Exactly.
Make it more our own. Okay, so we're telling stories.
Yes.
What else can we do to, like, really own our English?
Well, I think it all comes back to embracing that mindset of progress.
Okay.
Even if we stumble over a few words while we're telling a story,
Mhm.
it's the act of sharing and connecting that really matters.
I love that.
Yeah?
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about being ourselves.
Exactly. And the more we practice incorporating storytelling into our English, the more confident and fluent we'll become.
That's like building a muscle memory
Yeah.
for storytelling.
It is. And that translates into overall confidence in speaking.
I like that analogy. Okay, before we wrap up this section, is there anything else you want to add about confident English communication?
Just one final thought, and that is, remember that learning a language is a journey, not a race.
Oh, that's so important. It's so easy to compare ourselves to others
It is.
and feel like we're not progressing fast enough.
Yes, but everyone learns at their own pace. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
So it's about finding what works for you, being patient with yourself, and celebrating your own progress.
Exactly. And if you can embrace that mindset, you'll not only become a more confident speaker,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll also enjoy the process a lot more.
Okay, that's great advice. So before we move on, I have one more question for you. We've talked about so many techniques and tips, but if you had to give one piece of advice to someone who's feeling, stuck or discouraged, what would it be?
I would say, remember why you started learning English in the first place.
Oh, I like that.
What was that spark, that
Yeah.
initial motivation?
Right.
Was it to connect with people from different cultures, to advance your career, to travel the world, whatever it was, reconnect with that passion?
Because sometimes we lose sight of that.
We do.
We get so caught up in the day-to-day.
Yeah, and when you reconnect with that passion, the challenges seem less daunting.
Mm-hmm.
The process becomes more enjoyable.
It's like you're reigniting that inner fire.
Exactly. And with
Yeah.
that renewed sense of purpose,
Yeah.
I have no doubt you'll achieve your goals and more.
I love that. This has been so insightful. I feel like I've learned so much. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure.
Mm.
And remember, language learning is a lifelong adventure.
Ooh, I like that.
Embrace the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
celebrate the victories,
Yes,
and never stop exploring.
great advice.
Thank you.
Okay, so to wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to that question we asked at the beginning. How many of you have apologized for your English?
I'm sure we all have at some point.
Right? But I hope after hearing all of this, our listeners are feeling ready to ditch those apologies
Me too.
and embrace their own unique voices.
Yeah, because fluency isn't about perfection.
Right. It's about communication, connection, and confidence.
And remember, Every time you speak English, you're not just using a language.
Mm-hmm.
You're sharing a piece of yourself with the world.
That's beautiful. Okay, so to our listeners out there, we encourage you to step into your power, embrace the journey, and
Yes.
never be afraid to use your voice, even if it's not perfect.
The world needs your stories, your perspectives.
It does. Your unique contributions.
It really does.
Thinking about all this, I think it's so easy to get caught up in, like,
Uh-huh.
the grammar, the vocabulary,
Right.
that we forget the why.
We do.
Why did we even start learning English in the first place?
Yeah, it's so important to remember that.
It is.
And, it can be such a powerful motivator.
It can.
Yeah.
So what were some of the reasons that came up in the articles we read? Why do people learn English?
Well, a lot of people want to connect with people from different cultures,
Of course.
travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it's for their careers.
Yeah.
There's so many different reasons.
There are, and they're all valid.
Absolutely.
So it's like remembering that learning English isn't just about the language itself.
Right.
It's about opening doors to new experiences.
Yes. New relationships, new ways of seeing the world.
I love that. So important to keep that in mind, especially when things get tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because it can be challenging.
it can. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to go back to that question we asked at the very beginning.
Okay.
How many of you listening have apologized for your English?
It's something we've all done, I think, at some point.
We have, but after exploring all these ideas, I hope
Mhm.
you're feeling a little differently about it now.
I hope so too.
Mhm.
It's not about being perfect. It's about communicating, connecting, having the confidence to share your voice.
Exactly. And every time you speak English,
Yeah.
you're sharing a piece of yourself with the world.
That's beautiful.
So to everyone listening out there,
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to step into your power.
Yeah.
Embrace the journey and never stop using your voice, even if it's not perfect.
Because the world needs your stories, your perspectives.
It does, your unique contributions. So that's it for this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was great to be here.
We hope this has inspired you to keep learning, keep growing, and keep sharing your amazing selves with the world.
Until next time.